Hello everyone, today we're going to talk about Delilah's betrayal. To understand Delilah, we need to understand the pattern of Samson's life. Judges 13-16 tell the story of a man whose main weakness is not physical but sexual. Samson, a Nazirite consecrated to God who shouldn't drink wine, touch dead bodies or cut his hair, violates all three vows, but destruction comes through women. The first, a Philistine woman from Timnah. Samson sees her and tells his parents, "I have seen a Philistine woman in Timnah, now get her for me as my wife." Judges 14-2. Not I loved, but I saw, desire of the eyes. Parents protest. Philistines are uncircumcised, enemies, oppressors of Israel, but Samson insists, she's right in my eyes. The wedding ends in catastrophe. His wife betrays Samson's riddle to 30 Philistines under threats. Samson kills 30 men in Ashkelon, takes their garments as payment, and leaves in rage. The second, a prostitute in Gaza. Judges 16:1 laconically states, "One day Samson went to Gaza, where he saw a prostitute. He went in to spend the night with her." Gaza, capital of the Philistines, heart of enemy territory. Samson goes there not from military necessity, but for a prostitute. The Philistines surround the city, wait until morning to kill him, but Samson rises at midnight, tears out the city gates, and carries them to a mountain. Demonstration of strength, but also demonstration of recklessness. He risks his life for lust. And the third, Delilah. Sometime later, he fell in love with a woman in the valley of Sorek whose name was Delilah. Judges 16:4. For the first time, the text uses the word loved, Hebrew ahav. But did she love him back? Scripture is silent. It never says Delilah loved Samson, only that he loved her. Judges 16.5 describes the deal. The rulers of the Philistines went to her and said, "See if you can lure him into showing you the secret of his great strength, and how we can overpower him so we may tie him up and subdue him. Each one of us will give you 1,100 shekels of silver." 5 rulers of Philistine cities, Gaza, Ashkelon, Ashdod, Ekron, Gath. Each offers 1,100 shekels. Total, 5,500 shekels of silver. This is an enormous sum. For comparison, Joseph was sold into slavery for 20 shekels. Abraham's field in Hebron cost 400 shekels. A Levite's annual wage was 10 shekels plus clothing and food. Judges 17-10. 5,500 shekels is a lifetime fortune, money that could provide luxurious existence until old age. The Philistines know what they're offering. They don't ask Delilah to kill Samson. That's impossible. They ask her to lure and discover the secret of his strength. The Hebrew word pata, lure, has connotations of seduction, manipulation, playing on emotions. They're buying not just information, they're buying intimate betrayal, using closeness for destruction. And Delilah agrees. The text doesn't say she hesitated, struggled with conscience, tried to warn Samson. She immediately begins asking, "Tell me the secret of your great strength, and how you can be tied up and subdued." Judges 16:6. The directness is stunning. She doesn't mask the question, doesn't lead to it gradually. She asks point blank, and this should have been a red flag for Samson. But Samson doesn't leave. Instead, he begins a dangerous game, giving false answers. First time, "If anyone ties me with 7 fresh bowstrings that have not been dried, I'll become as weak as any other man." Judges 16:7. Delilah gets bowstrings from the Philistines, ties him, cries, "Samson, the Philistines are upon you." And Samson snaps them as easily as a piece of string snaps when it comes close to a flame. Second time, new ropes. Same scenario, same result. Samson breaks them like threads. Third time, "If you weave the 7 braids of my head into the fabric on the loom and tighten it with the pin, I'll become as weak as any other man." She does this while he sleeps, but he wakes up and pulls up the pin and the loom with the fabric. 3 attempts, 3 betrayals. 3 times Philistines hide in her house, wait in ambush. 3 times Delilah proves she's trying to destroy him, and Samson stays. Why? Because lust clouded his mind, because he thinks he controls the situation, because strength made him overconfident. No one can defeat me, even if I reveal the secret. After the third failure, Delilah changes tactics. Judges 16:15-16 describes the psychological attack. Then she said to him, "How can you say, 'I love you,' when you won't confide in me? This is the 3rd time you have made a fool of me, and haven't told me the secret of your great strength." With such nagging, she prodded him day after day until he was sick to death of it. How can you say, "I love you," manipulation through guilt? If you love me, you'll trust me with your secret. Classic toxic dynamic. Real love requires complete vulnerability, even self-destructive. And she doesn't just ask once, she prodded him day after day. Constant nagging, pressure, emotional abuse. And Samson breaks. So he told her everything. "No razor has ever been used on my head," he said, "because I have been a Nazirite dedicated to God from my mother's womb. If my head were shaved, my strength would leave me, and I would become as weak as any other man," Judges 16:17. He reveals not just the secret of strength, he reveals the covenant with God, the sacred Nazirite vow, the most intimate. Delilah realizes this time he's telling the truth. When Delilah saw that he had told her everything, she sent word to the rulers of the Philistines, "Come back once more, he has told me everything." So the rulers of the Philistines returned with the silver in their hands, Judges 16:18. They bring the money before the deed is done, advance payment, guarantee of the deal. Delilah lulls Samson to sleep on her lap. An intimate gesture, picture of tenderness, but it's a trap. She calls a man who shaves off the 7 braids of his hair, and then for the 4th time cries, "Samson, the Philistines are upon you." He wakes thinking, "I'll go out as before and shake myself free." But Judges 16:20 contains one of the most tragic lines of Scripture. "But he did not know that the Lord had left him. The Philistines seize him, gouge out his eyes, bind him with bronze shackles, and the strongest man in Israel becomes a blind slave, grinding grain in the prison of Gaza." Delilah's triumph is complete, betrayal accomplished, silver received. So why did she do it? The text gives clues but no direct answer. Let's consider the options. Money, the obvious motive. 500 shekels of silver lie on the table. Delilah never refuses the offer. She never warns Samson that the Philistines bribed her. She methodically works on him until she gets the information. Cold, calculating professionalism. This looks like contract killing. Only the target is not death but enslavement. But was there love? Some commentators suggest Delilah truly loved Samson, but loved in her own way, possessively, toxically. Maybe she wanted to break him to possess him completely, so he would depend on her, not on his strength. Maybe the betrayal was a perverted attempt to make him normal, strip him of the supernatural gift that made him unreachable. But the text doesn't support this reading. Delilah is never said to love. She never shows regret. After Samson is captured, blinded, and enslaved, she disappears from the narrative. No attempts to visit him, free him, ransom him. If this is love, it dies the moment the silver is received. There's a third explanation rarely considered: nationalism. Delilah is a Philistine or Canaanite from the valley of Sorek, which was a buffer zone between Israel and Philistia. Samson is a terrorist from her perspective. He killed thousands of her countrymen, burned their fields, destroyed their cities, humiliated their warriors. Maybe Delilah saw betraying Samson as a patriotic act. The Philistines offer her not just money, but the opportunity to save her people from the monster that's been decimating them for 20 years. So we may tie him up and subdue him. The goal is not murder, but neutralization of threat. From this perspective, Delilah is a heroine, not a traitor, a woman who sacrificed personal relationships for her people. But this doesn't remove the question: why then enter into a relationship with him? If the goal is only to neutralize an enemy, she could have poisoned him, killed him in sleep, called assassins. Intimate betrayal, playing with the secret, psychological manipulation. All this points to something more complex than simple patriotism. Scripture paints Delilah without embellishment. She's methodical. 4 attempts, constant pressure. She's fearless, ties up the most dangerous man in the region, knowing if something goes wrong, he'll kill her. She's heartless, cries, "The Philistines are upon you," watching his awakening, his attempt to free himself, his realization that strength is gone and shows no pity. But most revealing is her absence after the betrayal. If she loved, there would be tears, regret, attempts at redemption. If it was only patriotism, there would be triumph, public celebration of a heroine. But she's not there. She disappears with the silver, and the text is no longer interested in her. Like Judas, who betrayed for 30 pieces of silver and went to hang himself, Delilah receives payment and exits history. The story of Samson and Delilah is a parable about falling through lust. Samson received from God the gift of supernatural strength to deliver Israel. but he squandered it on personal revenge and pleasure. Each woman in his life is a step down: Philistine woman, prostitute, Delilah. Each time he thinks he controls the situation, that his strength will protect him from consequences. Delilah is an instrument of judgment. God doesn't intervene to stop Samson from revealing the secret. He allows the hero to destroy himself through his own lust. When the hair is cut, the Spirit of the Lord departs, and Samson remains an ordinary man who relied all his life on strength instead of character. But the story doesn't end in defeat. Judges 16:22 says, "But the hair on his head began to grow again after it had been shaved." In prison, blind, grinding grain, Samson apparently repents. And in the final act, when the Philistines bring him to the festival in Dagon's temple to mock him, Samson prays, "Sovereign Lord, remember me. Please, God, strengthen me just once more, and let me with one blow get revenge on the Philistines for my 2 eyes." Judges 16:28. God answers. Samson collapses the temple, killing 3,000 Philistines and himself. Thus he killed many more when he died than while he lived. Why did Delilah betray Samson? Most likely for money. The text shows no love, regret, internal struggle. It shows a cold transaction, methodical execution of a contract, receipt of payment and disappearance. If there was love, it was subordinated to greed. If there was patriotism, it was masked by mercenary motives. But the real lesson isn't about Delilah's motives. The lesson is about Samson, who had everything: God's calling, supernatural strength, appointment to deliver Israel, and squandered it on lust. Delilah didn't break Samson. Samson broke himself by returning again and again to a woman who openly tried to destroy him, because desire was stronger than wisdom. Delilah is a warning about the price of betrayal. Samson is a warning about the price of lust. And together they show how God's gifts can be destroyed by human weakness, how intimacy with the enemy is more dangerous than open battle, how silver can buy even intimate betrayal. Love or money? In Delilah's case, money won. But the tragedy is that Samson loved enough to destroy himself, and in this asymmetric equation both perished. He physically, she morally, both became symbols of a fall that begins not with violence, but with compromise.